All right, let's take a look at another sign here. And this is actually not a sign, but it's something that I saw in just my everyday Korean life, and I figured this might be something useful to talk about. As you can sort of see, and you can see the English here, this is actually was printed on a box, and this was sort of like the space where the box would open, and this was tape that was taped over the place where you'd open up the box. And I saw this and I read it and I thought, what if I didn't speak Korean and I didn't know what this meant? And I feel like this is something that people should really know about if they're just about to open up this box. In these big bolded words at the top here, this word here refers to exchange, and specifically it's more common, it's very commonly used in this situation where you're exchanging a product. Like, this is something that I bought, and it actually happened to be an air filter because the air these days in Korea is not very good. So I bought this air filter, and this is talking about exchanging the air filter after I bought it, exchanging it for a different one or a different product. And 환불 means refund. And obviously these two words very commonly go together, especially in stores, and when you're buying products, you can talk about exchanging or refunding a product. 안내 is something that appears, I feel like, almost in every sign, and 안내하다, it means to sort of inform or to notify or something like that, to sort of let people know about something, and or you could almost say guide or something like that. So this is almost, if I was going to translate this thing into plain English, it would say a notice about exchanging and refunding. That's the purpose of this dot. A notice about exchanging and refunding about this product. This first thing here is interesting, and very oftentimes in signs and in sort of information booklets or things like this, where you're talking to the masses, and you sort of see a situation where you want to get directly to the point. Very often in signs and in things like this, where it's like a notice to people, you often see writing like this where it's very direct and very to the point, and you commonly almost don't really use any of the grammar or things that you would normally use in everyday situation. And I'll talk about what that means in a second. 상품 sort of means the product, and it's specifically referring to the product that I purchased that would be inside this box. Again, this is sort of taped onto a box. 구매 means purchase, and 후 means after. And if I was going to say an actual sentence that says, after you purchase the product, what I would say in my everyday life, and what I would say if I was going to write it, would be 상품을 구매한 후에. And you can see that this is similar to what they have written here, but they've omitted a lot of things. You can see they've taken out this han, and they've taken out the object particle 르, and they've taken out this a here. This is just something, especially it's very commonly used if you're talking and you're using hanja words, because you can sort of just eliminate this, and this is not really a way that people speak, but it's sort of a way to give information. And as I said, it's very direct and to the point, and I don't recommend you speak this way, but this is one of the important things about knowing hanja words, is you see them very commonly in signs and in information packets like this. So after purchasing the product, this word here means opening. It actually could mean two different types of opening. I talked about it in a previous video when I talked about this character Ge, referring to the opening of something, and 개봉 could refer to the opening of a movie. It could be the opening of a movie, or it could be the opening of a box. And obviously, with just like a lot of times in Korean, there's sort of the same word and the same spelling, the same thing sort of means two different things. But in this, and you sort of say, well, how do I know if you're talking about opening a movie or opening a box? Well, this is a box, and it's not a movie, so it's obviously talking about opening the box, and it says box right here. So logically, you're talking about not the opening of a movie, but opening of a box. So after you purchase the product, now you're talking about opening, and it actually says, well, what are you opening? The box. And 포장 doesn't actually mean box, but what it's referring to is the packaging. packaging. So if you open the packaging, and this here, what I have is the base form of this verb. The only real word here is ha, and the base form of this is hada. And if I'm adding something to it, if I want to add something to this, I need to remove ta and add it directly to the stem, and the stem here is ha. And what I'm adding to it is actually two things. I'm adding this, which is the first thing that I'm adding, and then I'm adding this onto this, which is then added directly onto that. Now, she, and what this first one is, I'll have to get some space. The first one is I'm adding this she. And you would add she if the stem ends in a consonant, but ha, the stem ends in a vowel, so you don't add, it's not ha she, it's just ha she. So I don't add this in this particular case. And what this does is this adds formality to the person who's doing this particular action. It's not adding formality to the person that you're talking to. It's adding formality to the person that is doing this particular action. And the person who is doing this particular action is, and again, the action is the opening of this box. The person who is doing the action of opening this box is the customer. And in that case, you want to be very, very polite and formal with the customer. So you add this she, or ushi if it happened to end in if the stem ended in a consonant, but it's just you add this she to make it formal for that particular case. I talk about the meaning of she in lesson 39, and I talk about how it's used to make things formal. And what's added onto this, I then have the second thing added on, and what that is again is again, it depends on if now this thing that myeon is added to, if this ends in a vowel or a consonant, I would decide if I have to add this or not. But in this case, she ends in a vowel, so I actually don't add this in this particular case, followed by myeon. And what myeon does, it's sort of saying when this action happens. So it's talking about when this box is being opened, or when the customer opens this box. So if we just look at this first half of the clause right now, I have when, and again, ha or hada means to do. But what's actually happening is it's the action of doing this thing of opening the box. So you can have, for example, you can have 공부, which means studying, and you can say 공부를 하다, or you could say 공부하다. And in this case, it's the verb here is to do, but you're doing the action of studying. So you could just say this as studying. And in this particular case, you have to do the action of opening. But you could just simply translate that to opening. You don't really need to say to do opening, just like you don't need to say to do studying. You just naturally translate this in English as studying, and you would naturally translate this to English as opening. So when you or the customer opens the box or maybe the packaging, and that's why it says sort of the box or the packaging, same thing. After you purchase the product, when you open the box, or if you open the box, or when you open the box, and this word we already learned up above, this means exchange. This word here we already learned up above, this means return. Or sorry, not return, refund. This is basically the same meaning as this little dot here. This sort of means in addition to, or very simply, it could just mean and. If you want, it's more formal, so that's why I said in addition to. But basically, it just means and. So exchange and refunds are this, and you could basically guess what this is going to say even without knowing the meaning of it. The base form of this adjective, and I got no space down here, so I'll do it over here. The base form of this adjective is 불가하다, and it basically means not allowed or not possible, or you can't do this particular thing. It's kind of a difficult way to say this type of idea. A very common place where you would see it is on a sign, and specifically the sign that you would commonly see it in is this one, where you see mi Sung, Nyan, Cha. And this word actually means minors, as in like young people, sort of younger than 18 or something like that. And then 입장. And then 입장 means entering a place. And then after that, you would see ka. And what that's saying is it's not allowed, or it's not possible for minors or young people to enter. It's a very common thing that you would see, on liquor stores or places like that. Sometimes actually in PC bangs or places where you can enter and just play computer games until 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it might say that after 10 p.m. a minor is not allowed into that particular PC place, because that's actually a law in Korea, is that little kids can't go into these PC rooms until very, very late, because obviously they have to go to school. But what this is saying is it's not possible, or it's not allowed, or it won't happen if you try to refund or exchange this product if and when after you purchase the product, if you open the box, you can't get this refund or this exchange. Well, that was fun. I hope you learned a lot. Like our sign videos? You can see all of our Korean sign explanation videos by clicking the link here. We also have a ton of videos showing various aspects of Korean culture, tourist areas, cuisine, and everyday life. You can go there by clicking this link here. You can also subscribe to our channel by clicking this button.